Hello YouTube and welcome to another Windows tutorial. So in this video I'm going to show you how to use some commands for the Windows subsystem for Linux. So are you ready? Let's get started. So as you may know, Microsoft has actually introduced a way to run actual Linux inside Windows without actually the need to set up a virtual machine or a hypervisor, for example. Okay, so the project has seen a ton of supports, and now WSL2 is the latest and greatest version of it. Okay, so in this video I'll show you a couple of commands that you can use to set up this Windows subsystem for Linux, and also to actually get the features that come with it. Okay, so first thing first, so in order to actually run the Windows subsystem for Linux or just enable it, you just fire up your terminal, your default Windows terminal, or you can use the PowerShell terminal if you want. So here I'm using my favorite terminal, which is Commander. Okay, so in order actually to enable the Windows subsystem for Linux, you just type the command WSL --install. Okay, so actually this command will enable all the system features required, and it will download and install Ubuntu by default. Okay, so if you don't want a distribution to be installed during the setup, you can just use or add actually the tag --no distribution. Okay, so me, I already installed it, so probably I will get the operation completed successfully. Okay, so let's say for example that we want to install Debian, for example. So we can do that using the same command WSL --install, then for example Debian. But remember, if you don't actually specify the distribution name, Ubuntu will be installed by default. So let's run this command and see what we get. So as you can see now, Windows will install Debian in our Windows. Okay, so it's launching now Debian Linux, and it's installed. So this, as you can see, may take a few minutes. So now it's prompting me for entering a new Unix username. So I will use, for example, my name Amina, and also a password. So the password is accepted, and now we are actually in the distribution actually Debian. Okay, so you can verify that if you want with any Linux command. So for example uname -a, it will gives us the kernel version. So as you can see here, it's version 5.15. Okay, and it's part of the Microsoft standard WSL2. Okay, so if you want to actually exit this Debian distribution, you just type the command exit. Okay, so now you are logged out and you are back to the prompt. Okay, so now let's see some command that may be helpful if you are using the Windows subsystem for Linux. So let's say that you want, for example, to list the installed distributions. So remember, we just have actually installed Debian, but I already installed also Ubuntu. So let's verify that with the command WSL --list, or you can just type -l if you want. Okay, but let's keep it long list. Okay, So as you can see here, the Windows Subsystem for Linux distributions. So I have actually two. I have Ubuntu and I have a Debian. So these are the two distributions that I have installed on my system. Okay. So in order to list the installed distribution along with its running status, we can use, or we can add just the tag, for example, verbose. Okay, so with this tag it will actually allows me to see the status of my distributions. So as you can see here, all the distribution installed are in state stopped. Okay, now, so for example, let's open another terminal. So I will open another terminal and I will try to run a specific distribution. Okay, so as you can see here, I have two distributions installed, Ubuntu and Debian. So let's start, for example, this Debian instance and see the result with the command list done verbose. Okay, so in order to run a specific distribution, it's pretty easy. We type the command WSL -d for distribution and the distribution name. So in my case it's Debian. Okay, so now the Debian instance will be launched, as you can see here. Okay, so let's return back to other terminal and execute the same command in order to see what's going on. So now you can see that the state of the Debian instance is actually running, as you can see here. Okay, so let's say, for example, you have installed some software in this distribution Debian, or you make some changes into the subsystem and you want to actually export it so you can use it for future project. Okay, so in order to do that, you can just export the running distribution as an image, and in order to do that, you execute command WSL -export, then you specify actually the file name, which will be a tar file. So I'll make it, for example, Debian backup.tar. Okay, so this command will actually export the running Debian distribution as an image. So let's execute it and see what we get. So I get this prompt, which means I did a mistake. So actually, as you can see here, I didn't specify the distribution that I want to make back off. So here I have to add actually the distribution name, then the distribution backup file name. Okay, so I will edit the command that I had just entered, and here I have to add actually the distribution that I want to make a backup. Okay, which is actually a Debian. So let's run it once again, and you can see now it's exporting the Debian distribution. So of course it depends on what you have installed on your distribution. Okay, so the operation completed successfully. So let's verify now that the file exists. So I will list the current configuration, and indeed you can see the file Debian backup.tar has been created. I can actually list that with long format, so you can see the file size is quite big. Okay, so let's say now that we want to import the exported image. So in order to import this image that we have actually exported, we use the command WSL -import. Then we specify the distribution name, so let's call it, for example, Debian 2. Then we have to provide actually an installation location. So I will just give it as location my D drive, for example. Let's say in the directory called VMs. Okay, and finally I have of course to provide the tar file that we have created. So remember, it's been created on the same directory, so all I have to do is to give it its name, which is debian backup.tar, and this is it. This is the command that you can use in order to import the exported image. So let's run it and see what we get. So as you can see here, the import in progress. So of course that may take some few minutes depending on the size of your image, and operation completed successfully. Okay, so if we go to our D drive under the directory VM in order to verify that the distribution is there, so this is my directory here, VM, and indeed it has created our image as vhdx file. Okay, so with this command import export, we can actually make a backup image of your distribution. Okay, so now let's list all the distribution that we have using the same command that we used before, list and verbose. So now we have actually 3 distributions. We have Ubuntu and Debian that we have actually installed, and we have another one, Debian 2, that we actually imported using actually the command -- import. Okay, so let's run, for example, this Debian 2. So the command is WSL, or let's run it in the other terminal in order to just so -d Debian 2 in order to verify it's working. And indeed it worked. So I'll execute command -m, so it's working. So now let's verify another time. So it's running. Okay, and the last command, if you want to shut down all your distribution, it's pretty easy. WSL --shutdown. So this is the command in order actually to shut down all the distributions. So here we go. So let's verify that once again with the list command, and indeed now all the distributions are in stopped state. Okay, so let's run once again our Debian, and I will try just to terminate this distribution Debian. Okay, because with shutdown command it will shut down all the distributions. So let's say that you want to terminate only specific distribution. So as you can see here, the Debian is running. So if you want to actually terminate only the Debian distribution, you can do that using actually the tag -t for terminate. Okay, and here you have to specify, of course, this distribution name. So in my case it's a Debian. Okay, so this command will actually terminate only the distribution Debian. Okay, so let's verify that. Here we go. So now all the distributions are stopped. Okay, and finally, if you want to get rid of any distribution, so we say actually to unregister a distribution and to remove its file storage. So for example, let's get rid of this Debian 2. We can use the command WSL --unregister, and of course the distribution name. Okay, so this is the command in order to delete a distribution. Unregister, here I have a mistyped something actually. I guess there is no capital here. Okay, So yes, so let's verify that. No, so normally now we only get two distributions with our Ubuntu and Debian. Okay, so as you can see, these are all the essential commands that you must know in order to play with the Windows Subsystem for Linux. So that was just a brief video to show you how to use WSL on your Windows machine. As always, I hope it has been informative for you, and I want to thank you for viewing. Bye bye.